While millions of people watched their savings evaporate during the last financial crisis, a small group of ultra-wealthy individuals actually grew richer, not by luck, not by insider trading, by following a specific set of moves that almost nobody talks about and that almost nobody teaches. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why economic chaos is not a threat to the wealthy, but a tool they use. And you will know which parts of that playbook you can start using today. You have done everything right. You went to school, got a steady job, opened a savings account, maybe even started a retirement fund. And yet every time the economy gets rocky, you feel it immediately. Prices spike, your investments bleed. The news says the market will recover, but your bank balance does not feel that way. You are not irresponsible. You are not uninformed. You are just playing a completely different game than the people who never seem to lose. And nobody told you the rules were different. Here's what makes this even harder. During a crisis, the instinct of most people is to freeze, to wait, to follow the herd into panic, sell when prices drop, hoard cash under the mattress, stop investing entirely. And the financial news machine feeds that fear every single day because fear keeps you watching, keeps you clicking. What most people do not realize is that this fear response is not natural, it was engineered. The markets, the media, and the financial system all benefit when ordinary people react emotionally with their money. So what do most people do when they want to be smarter? They save more aggressively. They park everything in a savings account, maybe buy some gold, maybe pull everything out of the stock market entirely. And for a moment, it feels responsible. It feels safe. But here's what nobody tells you. While inflation quietly eats your cash, the ultra-wealthy are buying the assets that inflation drives up. Saving harder in a currency that loses value is not a strategy. It is a slow-motion loss disguised as discipline. There is a reason this keeps happening, and it is almost never discussed. It is not about intelligence. It is not about income. People who earn six figures and people who earn minimum wage can both end up financially destroyed by a crisis for the exact same reason. The wealthy are not just richer, they think about money through a completely different framework. And once you understand that framework, every financial decision you've ever made will start to look different. The problem has never been how much you earn. It has always been the structure around what you earn. Here is the core mechanism. Most people hold their wealth as money, as currency sitting in a bank account. The ultra-wealthy hold their wealth as assets, things that produce income or appreciate in value regardless of what the currency does. When a crisis hits and the government prints more money, your cash loses purchasing power. But real estate, businesses, commodities, and productive assets often rise in value in that exact same environment. The wealthy are not protected because they have more zeros in their bank account. They are protected because they converted those zeros into something the system cannot inflate away. During the 2008 financial crisis, median household wealth in the United States dropped by nearly 40%. But the top 1% of earners recovered all their losses within 2 years, and by 2012 were wealthier than before the crash. How? While average investors were selling in panic, the wealthy were buying distressed assets at historic discounts. During COVID, the same pattern repeated. The world's billionaires added over $5 trillion to their collective net worth while unemployment hit record highs. This is not luck. This is a repeating behavioral pattern, executed with discipline every single time. The difference is not information. Wealthy investors and average investors often read the same headlines. The difference is the time horizon they are playing on. Average investors think in weeks and months. The ultra-wealthy think in decades. When markets crash, the average investor asks, "How do I stop losing?" The wealthy investor asks, "What will still be valuable in 20 years, and how do I buy more of it right now at a discount?" One question is about survival. The other is about positioning, and that single difference in framing determines almost every outcome. Here is the single reframe that changes everything. Stop seeing a crisis as something that happens to you. Start seeing it as a calendar event that happens for you, if you are prepared. Every major economic disruption in history has transferred wealth. The question is never whether the transfer will happen. It always does. The only question is which direction the wealth flows, from the unprepared to the prepared, from the reactive to the proactive, from those who hold currency to those who hold assets. You cannot control the crisis, but you can absolutely control which side of that transfer you are on. The first principle is what wealthy families call asset stacking. Rather than holding one form of wealth, they build across multiple asset classes that behave differently from each other. Real estate tends to hold value during inflation. Equities in essential industries continue generating revenue. Commodities like energy and agriculture spike when supply chains break. No single crisis destroys all of these simultaneously. The goal is not to pick the winner. The goal is to be positioned in enough asset classes that some part of your wealth is always appreciating, no matter what the economy does. The second principle is liquidity engineering. The wealthy never put themselves in a position where a crisis forces them to sell. They maintain what is called dry powder, accessible capital they do not need for living expenses, set aside specifically to deploy when opportunity prices appear. This is not the same as an emergency fund. An emergency fund is defensive. Dry powder is offensive. It is the capital you hold so that when a market drops 30 or 40%, you are not trying to survive, you are actively buying. The wealthy treat downturns as sales events. Your job is to afford to show up. The third principle is what insiders call structural protection. This means legally positioning your assets so that economic volatility, lawsuits, or sudden tax changes cannot wipe you out in one event. This includes things like holding assets inside legal structures such as trusts, holding companies, or family offices. It includes geographic diversification, spreading assets across jurisdictions, and it includes having professionals review your exposure regularly. Wealthy individuals do not wait for the crisis to ask a lawyer. They build the structure before the storm arrives, so the storm has nothing to grab. Now here's where most people fail when they try to apply this. The first mistake is waiting for the perfect moment. There is never a perfect moment. The second is trying to implement all three principles simultaneously with money they do not yet have, which leads to paralysis. The third, and this one is critical, is confusing speculation with asset ownership. Buying volatile cryptocurrencies on leverage during a crisis is not asset stacking. It is gambling with the vocabulary of investing. Structural wealth building is boring. If it feels exciting, you're probably doing the wrong version of it. Here is what you can do starting this week. In the next 48 hours, calculate what percentage of your net worth is sitting in cash or a savings account doing nothing. That number is your vulnerability score. In the next 30 days, identify one real asset class you can begin entering with whatever you currently have available. Index funds, a fractional real estate platform, or a commodity-linked instrument. In the next 90 days, set up a separate account labeled Opportunity Capital, even if it starts at $100. Build the habit first, scale the habit second. The structure matters more than the starting amount. Here's the question I want to leave you with, and I genuinely want to know your answer. Most people who watch a video like this will feel motivated for a day or two, then go back to exactly what they were doing before. A small number will actually act. What is the real reason most people know this information exists but still do not change their financial structure? Is it fear? Is it inertia? Or is it something about the way our society rewards short-term comfort over long-term positioning? Tell me what you think is the actual barrier, because that answer might be more valuable than anything I just said.